Hey everyone, Yan Zhao back again. Yesterday, Wizards of the Coast announced Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which is a new rules book similar to Xanathar's Guide for Everything. And it's got a lot of the updated versions of the things that we've been talking about from Unearthed Arcana. Now, Wizards advertises the following: expanded subclasses. Try out subclass options for every D&D class, including Artificer. More character options. Delve into collection of new features, feats. Customize your character's origin using straightforward rules for modifying characters' racial traits. We'll get into that in a minute. Introducing group patrons. Whether you're part of the same criminal syndicate or working for an ancient dragon, each group patron option comes with its own perks and types of assignments. Spells, artifacts, and magic tattoos. Discover more spells as well as magic tattoos, artifacts, and other magic items for your campaign. Expanded rules options. Try out rules for sidekicks, supernatural environments, natural hazards, and parlaying with monsters, and gain guidance on running a session 0. A plethora of puzzles. Ready to be dropped into any D&D adventure? Puzzles of varied difficulty await your adventurers, complete with traps and guidance on using puzzles in a campaign. These are a lot of great announcements, and I have to say, in general, this looks pretty good. There are a few things to talk about, I suppose. So number 1, expanded subclasses. They haven't given out so far how many updated subclasses there would be. How far does it go? For example, we just had another Unearthed Arcana release, 2-3 weeks ago. Will that be in there? Too early to tell. Initial reports have said a couple of the now official subclasses are a little bit disappointing as they're underwhelming compared to how they were in Unearthed Arcana. To me, that's just a bit of Wizards of the Coast balancing it out. Perhaps they were OP, which is why everybody loved them. We'll see how it plays out. The big one is the character origins, with their straightforward rules for modifying a character's racial traits. So there's been this general trend where a lot of people are complaining online that quote-unquote race in D&D, meaning if your character's an elf or a dwarf or a gnome or half cat people, half elephant people, whatever, that is colonial thinking and it's damaging. Now, they don't announce here exactly what they're going to do about that, but word on the street is they're basically going to give you a certain number of characteristics that you could take, like, for example, +1 to a stat, +2 to a stat, and you get to choose which stats or which special abilities, languages, whatever, that your character speaks. Or not just speaks, but whatever way you want to modify your character. Now, in some ways, this is actually very nice, because before, let's say your elven warrior male has a thing for ladies with beards. Well, he could have a half-elf, half-dwarf child, but that would be very hard to make on your own to figure out what the stats should be. Now you would be able to have this. You'd have some systemization for it. One of the problems with this is it really devalues the classical characteristics of a group. Now, it's basically like putting on and off clothes. It doesn't really matter your innate ancestry, racial makeup, whatever you want to term it, is window dressing. And there's something to be said for the loss of having to, not even necessarily having to, but having these expectations of a race. You normally would play into them, but you could also play against type. What if you played an elf who wasn't snooty and bougie? That'd be pretty interesting, right? So it'll take time to see how this works out and how exactly they try to manage it. Something interesting for future videos. In the spells, artifacts, and magical tattoos, I have to say I really like the tattoos as an option, because if you're playing a character who isn't really into material things, whether it's religious, maybe they're a monk, they just don't value physical objects very much, a tattoo is a good way to still give them power-ups, but keep in line with the way you want to play your character. Now, one thing that excites me is the expanded rules where they have sidekicks. A two-person D&D game, they just started that, I believe it was about a year ago, with one of their basic sets. It's a really nice way to get other people into it, especially if they're a little bit worried or a little bit shy about getting in front of a group and playing for a first time. You can have a one-on-one session, and the DM can ham it up all he wants, letting the player feel very comfortable being silly and whatnot. I'm really excited about the rules for the sidekicks. Hopefully they sort of expand it a little bit and make it a little more comprehensive. I thought it was a little lacking in the kit that was out a year ago, but overall, not too bad. One of the things that surprised me, which sounds great, is this last one, a plethora of puzzles. One of the hardest and or annoying things in D&D is you don't just want everything to be a straight slog, a straight fight all the time, right? It's good for the players to go through a bunch of different mental challenges, pulling the lever, put how many containers of water fills the thing before it overflows, and you got to do exactly or whatever. Hey, we've all been there. We've all had that algebra class. This is good because if you have tools to have a bunch of different puzzles, it's definitely better because you will have groups. Some are super awesome, cool with math, but they'll really suck for like cultural or other things. And then other groups will hate you for reminding them of giving them flashbacks of, I'm talking about you, Miss Goebel, no more algebra. But that's what we have here. It looks like a great resource. There already are some resources online, but I don't believe anything official from Wizards of the Coast. There is going to be a pre-order in September. The release date is currently November 17, 2020. I haven't seen any announcements on D&D Beyond or Roll20, but I assume it's coming probably at the same time. All right, guys, just a quick update. Desperately trying to get back into making more D&D videos. Hopefully more coming soon. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. What do you think looks great about this update? And what do you think looks terrible about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything?